I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my soul is welcome here. Oh, my soul is welcome here.
So I want to welcome all of you here today, especially those of you who are new. Unity is a delightful way of looking at life itself, and it gives you the tools that you need to grow. And many times we go through difficult things, and it's nice to have those tools at hand to bring us out and above sometimes the things that take us lower. Today I'm going to talk on Journey of Parables. And a parable, as you know, is a story with an underlying meaning. And in Unity, we do, of course, do not take the Bible literally. We take it metaphysically. So every word, place, or thing is a phase of our consciousness. A phase of our consciousness. And in this knowledge, again, we can move from one level to another of enlightenment and higher thinking. Also, connect that oneness more and more as we learn about Unity's teaching. I didn't connect to the oneness of God right away when I got into Unity. It was a difficult thought. It took many years to get to where I'm at now. And that's okay, because through the Bible we are also shown different paths of each individual person. And each path is very, very different. That's why we do not in Unity judge those who are in one area or another, because that's exactly where they're supposed to be, and we honor that. And personally, I believe throughout the years and all the Unity churches I've been to, people come to Unity because of that freedom and because of that non-judgment. And most of all, like myself, I wanted to know who I was. What am I? I know that I'm here for a reason, but what reason? And I felt good about myself within. And one night I met a fellow friend, a neighbor, and she mentioned Unity. And that was it. The day I stepped in there, that was it. I knew it was my home. And it is my home. I can no longer go back, and that's okay. It's wonderful. Wherever you came from is okay. And in one of my classes, I love mostly when one of the students who was a past alcoholic for 30 years, found Unity, was able to rise above it. And she said this beautiful thing. She said, I got here as soon as I could. I got here as soon as I could. In other words, she had to go through her own path. And that's wonderful. And we bless her for any movement in our lives that brings us further ahead. So it's a great blessing. Now, Unity sees the Bible again as a metaphysical interpretation. Of course, it doesn't take it literally, because we know the law and principles would never annihilate a town of women and children, or use children as sacrifices. It just didn't make sense. It certainly didn't make sense to me. So Unity has brought forth, by Charles Fillmore's writing of the book, the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. And in that Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, you're able to see every word that is in the Bible, so you get your divine inspiration. And that's what the Bible is for. Again, we don't take it literally. We take it divinely. And you may see a story in, let's say, your 30s. You've read it. Fillmore recommends that you go into meditation and get your divine inspiration of that sentence. And each time you do, and the more you grow and mature in life, you're going to read that again go into meditation for divine inspiration and get a different answer. And that's the beauty. It gives you the answer you need to know for that moment. And you become very, very inspired. Some of the things that we know and have learned in our classes, symbols for words, events, and places in the Bible. So places and events are actually your phase of consciousness at that point. Animals and birds and fish and inanimate objects in the Bible represent thoughts and ideas. So you can see how when we read the Bible, we're saying, well, that means that. Now, I don't remember all of them, and that is for sure. So if you go to truthunity.com, and you go to search and you type in Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, it's free. Try it when you go home. Pick out a word or pick out a sentence and click on what the word itself, and it'll give you the meaning. Now, several times you'll have several meanings, so you'll pick out the one that really feels in your heart that is right for you. As far as places, for instance, Egypt. Egypt means darkness. And you think, what do you mean by darkness? Well, there are times in our lives that we feel low. We feel hurt. Our old beliefs may capture our thoughts, and we are back in a hole, per se. And I've had this. So I want to move from that darkness. And I use the tools. I go into meditation. And I start from the beginning. The beginning is knowing your oneness as you're meditating. Get into that oneness and move forward from there. Don't start at the middle, but start at the very beginning of your inner mind. And that will help you move up. And say in the affirmations, I know that it's okay. I've got to hold on. I know something good is coming. I want to move from Egypt up to perhaps Jericho, which means intelligence. But at intelligence, I still want to go higher into spirituality. Perhaps I can get to Israel, the highest thinking. I become the one with God and know how special I am today and forever. And you are very special. Mary, Jesus' mother, I thought I knew it was going to be beautiful when I looked at it, but it's the divine motherhood of love. I can't imagine Mary's name not representing love. Crucifixion is really our leaving the negative thoughts that we're fighting, because I have them still, and I'll probably have them till I pass over on the other side. But they creep up. And sometimes you wonder, why am I thinking about that? I don't feel like that, but I'm going to move out of this negative thinking. I'm going to move you away from me and get in my right consciousness. And this is the crucifixion, the actual meaning of crucifixion. And then what comes out of crucifixion? The resurrection. So when you move away from negative beliefs into higher thinking, you've gone into resurrection. And that's a metaphysical meaning of resurrection. It's not an actual happening, except in your consciousness. Because we know that the Bible is all about us. It's all about us. And it tells us at each story things that we go through in life. We go through those challenges. Take Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot was told and his family not to look back when you leave the city. Lot's wife turned back and she turned to, thank you. You know it real well. Well, guess what? She didn't want to let go of the past. Not condemning her because that's her choice. But she would have been able to move forward if you say, I let go of that happening in my life that hurt. I let go of those people that hurt me, or my boss just said something to me that was not very nice. And I'm not going to stay in consciousness and think about it over and over again and become a pillar of salt. She couldn't move forward. And that, again, is a sign that this is about us, the metaphysical, underlying divine ideas of every word and action in the Bible. And this is our basis for Unity's understanding. It is our manual, but again, it is not taken literally. It's a massive book that teaches us. And that's what Fillmore intended as he created the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary. So a parable, as I'm going to speak on today, is a story with an underlying meaning. And that's what parables are. We have parables, allegories, metaphors, okay? And everything has an underlying meaning. So today, I have asked Christina to read a parable for me. And if you would come up, Christina, and then I'll go through it with you.
The sower, Matthew 13, 1 through 5. Jesus said a sower went forth to sow his seed. As he sowed them, some fell along the hard pathway, where many people had walked and packed down the soil. At that time, the farmers did sow the seed before plowing the soil. Since the seed could not take root, they were exposed on top of the soil, and the birds would come along and have a feast. Some fell on rocky ground. The topsoil was loose enough for the seed to take root, and they did. They grew rapidly. But when the sun came out, they withered away because they had no depth of roots. Then some of the seed fell among thorns. As they tried to grow, they were choked out by the thorns. Finally, some seed fell in the good ground and produced some 30-fold, some 60-fold, and some 100-fold.
Thank you. So this story is us, folks. That's why I chose it. The first laying of the seeds was laid in a path that had not been soiled. The soil had not been turned. So they laid on top and they did not seed in the ground. And this is a consciousness that just has heard about truth, but really doesn't want to get into it. Doesn't want to take the time to get into it. So the birds come and they carry the seeds away. The next consciousness is one who has planted the seed in rocks. Now, in the rocks, there is soil turned, but the soil is very thin. And this consciousness takes in the truth, but once we have something that challenges us, we tend to go back into that old thinking. We don't move forward. And that thinking could be hurt, pain, anything, but we're so used to reacting to it this way rather than seeing the light within ourselves that we stay in there. So it has very little depth to grow in. So the seeds die. The third one is seeds dropped into the soil, but then thatches of thorns. Thorns. Thank you. It grew. The seeds were dropped, and it landed in the thorns. Now, this consciousness has really more of a material, money, thinking, very surfacey, and eventually the thorns choke the plant, and it passes away. And I have done that when I was younger. God only knows. I had to look right. I wanted to buy the right purse. And nothing meant in depth to me at that point of my life. And sometimes we'll go in and out of these throughout our lives. And again, that's okay. Love yourself along the way. You've got the tools to move forward. Now, the last one, the fourth one, is the fertile soil where we are at. Okay? We've studied, we've listened, we've felt, we want to know, we want to grow. So this soil is rich in knowledge, and it keeps on giving the vitamins of the soil, and the plant grows very, very strong and fertile. As you are now standing firm. And if we fall back to the other three, it's okay. We move forward and we want to get to the fertile soil. And we do this all the time. So this is how Charles Fillmore and Myrtle Fillmore and all of the great writers of unity work with the metaphysical understanding of the divine ideas in the Bible. And it is very in-depth, and again, it is not taken literal. So you're really free to look at a sentence, to read anything you want, to discover a place. You know, Adam went to Harun. As he went up, that means you are going up in consciousness. He spoke on a mountain, which meant he was higher in consciousness, as you do. So again, it's a story of us. It's a beautiful story of us. And I bless you through all of it. And I know that you have moved from Egypt in darkness or loneliness. You've moved up to the mountain of a higher consciousness. And then you have reached Israel, the Word of God. And this is where you stand today as you move to Christ mind within all of us. Thank you. Thank you.
I'm in the right place at the right time. I am just where I'm supposed to be. Oh, my